comes to Nintendo, Nintendo has a slew of titles that they just sit on. Titles, franchises that they really haven't done anything with, that I think need to make a comeback. At this point, it is no surprise to anybody. Everybody knows the Nintendo Switch is being very, very successful. And Nintendo is already showing strides that they are going to support this console. We've had such announcements to, again, prove this. With titles such as Metroid coming back, Kirby getting a new installment, Nintendo releasing Mario Odyssey, this begs a question. What franchises from Nintendo's backlog of games that they don't really do anything with could they bring back to the Nintendo Switch? Today we're going to take a look at 5 titles that I want to see make a comeback. Kicking off this list is going to be Star Fox. Star Fox, I know, already had the lackluster hit Star Fox Zero. While some of the concepts were great, the ultimate control of gimmicks is what destroyed that game. We have Star Fox Command, which was a ripe piece of shit. And at this point, Star Fox is one of those franchises that could evolve. I already had asked the Power Up Mushroom and another friend of ours to join me and do a discussion in what direction Star Fox needs to go, and we feel that Star Fox could benefit from doing a more open world-esque kind of style game, much in the veins of Mass Effect. Nintendo taking their characters and applying something more of a role-playing adventure game set in the Star Fox universe. I think that's something that Star Fox could really benefit from, that could transcend the series into something much more grounded, with ground fights, with land tanks, spaceship battles, and they'd have to find a way to incorporate all of this to make it feel fresh and innovative while still keeping intact what the Star Fox franchise had initially set up. Assault was in the right direction, and I feel that that game was brushed aside when, in actuality, it wasn't that bad of a game. Next up on the list, at number 4, is going to be Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion has not seen a console release since the GameCube, its first outing. And while many consider Luigi's Mansion to be to not have been that great, it has since assumed a cult following, kind of amassed critical attention, and it even got a sequel on the Nintendo DS, which was good, but it was not great. It took some of the elements that made Luigi's Mansion great, but really kind of dimmed it down by making it more of a mission-based experience. Luigi's Mansion is one of those games that I feel like if they were just to bring to the Nintendo Switch new ghosts, new mansion, new concept, new gameplay mechanics, maybe even add a little bit of a couch co-op so people could play together, Luigi's Mansion could end up being a pretty awesome experience. One thing with Luigi's Mansion you always got to take into consideration, though, is they can't really change the formula. Luigi's Mansion set up a great concept, a Ghostbusters-esque style game, using the vacuum. Keep those in contact, make the number 2 Luigi's Mansion 2, and maybe Nintendo can have a series go on with Luigi's Mansion, which I would be completely okay with. Next up on this list, at number 3, is F-Zero. F-Zero is another one of Nintendo's racers that is absolutely brilliant. It seems when it comes to Nintendo racers, the one that always gets the most attention is Mario Kart. And while Mario Kart is a wonderful experience, Mario Kart 8 is the best in the franchise in my opinion, followed very closely by Mario Kart 64. What we have in turn seen is the F-Zero franchise really having nothing going on with it since the GameCube release of F-Zero GX. It would be nice to turn around and see Nintendo make another F-Zero game. The high-profile, fast-paced, futuristic racing, amazing soundtrack would be an absolute must for this generation. To be able to bring that back in, incorporate online multiplayer, ranked matches online, followed by, its campaign, that they've always had, this would be a really great way to do it. And in order to make this an amazing experience, in this day and age with what they can do with sound and music, bring in a fully rock orchestrated soundtrack that's just amazing, ear-blasting fun, F-Zero deserves a place to be on the Nintendo Switch. And with Nintendo looking to, bring it back, bring in an audience, F-Zero might be that title that they could kind of gear maybe more towards adults and get them to purchase the Nintendo Switch, for those of them who are sitting on the fence. Sitting in at number 2 is Earthbound. Earthbound is a cult classic video game that was released on the SNES. And while Earthbound at the time was not as appreciated as it is now, it did not receive the greatest reviews when it was released. So the fact that how many people go about and praise this game is something that shouldn't be overlooked. And Nintendo could come in and create yet another role-playing experience on the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo seems to be taking strides to appeal to those people who do like the Japanese-based games. I Am Setsuna coming out, we've had Lost Sphere that comes out next year on the Switch as well, we have seen Xenoblade Chronicles, we have seen Octopath Traveler, Shin Megami Tensei 5 was just announced for the Nintendo Switch, exclusively for the Nintendo Switch. So Nintendo's showing that they are willing to, again, bring RPGs over to America. And this is something that I would like to see them do, is revive Earthbound. Maybe start off with a collection. Put Mother 1, Mother 2, and Mother 3 all into one collection, port that over to the Americas, so we have 1, 2, and 3 officially over here, and then turn around and release Earthbound 4, or Mother 4 in this case, because that's its Japanese name. But with RPGs almost making a comeback from the Japanese market, putting them on a mobile device, it just seems so fitting for Nintendo for this to be the time for Earthbound to make its grand comeback in the video game industry and really push forward with that sell. Next up on this list is Donkey Kong 64. Speaking before we get into Donkey Kong 64, I do want to make mention of Donkey Kong Country. Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze were some of the best games that you could get on the Wii and the Wii U, respectively. I would make an argument that that alone made the Wii U worth it for me. Tropical Freeze. I absolutely loved Tropical Freeze. So, bring over both of those versions on the Nintendo Switch and let us have at them, because I would love to see those games be ported over to the Nintendo Switch and again be mobile. And I'll say it, another entry in the Donkey Kong Country franchise would be absolutely welcome. I would absolutely love to see that. But more than that, what I want to focus on is Donkey Kong 64. Donkey Kong 64 was one of my favorite platformers growing up as a child. And I know many people complain about the amount of collecting that game had to do, but that to me was its most rewarding experience. I absolutely loved the collectathon platformers. I absolutely loved going through and collecting everything, and Donkey Kong 64 for me was one of those games that really extended it out and made it worthwhile. But more than that, Donkey Kong 64 had some really unique, crazy, out there worlds. Some really weird, just kind of different things. And Rare was back on fire with platformers back in the Nintendo 64 era. Conker's Bad Fur Day, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Donkey Kong 64. Even Jet Force Gemini was another one of Nintendo's franchises or games back then that a lot of people really enjoyed. But Donkey Kong 64 deserves a fresh coat of paint. It deserves a chance to be brought back and give us another 3D platformer. Because at this point in time, the only 3D platformer Nintendo really focuses on at this point is Super Mario. And from what I've heard, Odyssey is a great game, which I am looking forward to playing, but it would be nice to see Nintendo bring back another mascot of theirs into the 3D platforming realm. And as to where they could go with it, come up with a new concept, bring back King K. Rool, there's a lot that they could really go with and really do. And I'm really hoping that Nintendo finds that right studio to go out there and contract with them and make a great experience. I would say Playtonic Games, but Yooka-Laylee was less than stellar, so I really don't feel like I have faith in them to potentially tackle a sequel to Donkey Kong 64. So thoughts, opinions, leave those all down below in the comment box. There are a slew of Nintendo titles that should come to the Nintendo Switch, should get a second chance, a second life, and I want to hear what you guys have to do. This has been my list, my 5 that I would like to see. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I challenge anybody who watches this video to make a video response to this and let us know what Nintendo franchises you would like to see come to the Nintendo Switch. Get that second breath of life. And before I close out this video, what the frick, Nintendo? Why haven't you brought over the Seiken Densetsu collection to the Americas? Seriously, why the frick not? Work with Square Enix, get that shit brought over, because I want an official translation of Seiken Densetsu 3. Legend of Mana, or Mana Game 3. But thoughts, opinions down below. So hit subscribe there for me to keep up to date with all of my content. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter, as well as all of my other social media links down below in that description box. You guys have been watching The Spoony Bard, and most importantly, stay happy, be happy, game happy. The Spoony Bard is checking out.